Hi. Thank you. So tonight we are going actually to learn more about Purim than in the Parsha. But it's a new Parsha, a new Chumash, the book of Vayikra, the book of Leviticus. And I would have liked to speak about the Parsha, but we also have Purim. So somehow it's going to find itself a connection to the Parsha with Hashem's help. So regarding Purim, what I am discussing tonight is something which those who were here on Shabbat afternoon, we began talking about it after Mincha. And this is regarding what the Gemara says in Masechet Shabbat. The Gemara says in Shabbos that the Jewish people, at the time of Matan Torah, the time when the Torah was given, the Jewish people were placed by God under Mount Sinai. And he kind of forced them to receive the Torah. As the Gemara says in Shabbos, page 88, as it says in the verse, by the story of Har Sinai, it says, Vayitiatzvu betachti so'or. They were positioned under the mount. Says the Gemara, Omar Avdimi, Bar Chome, Bar Chase, Melame, that this pasuk teaches us, Shekafa Akadosh Baruch Hu Aleim et Tahar Kegigit, that God had placed the mountain over them like a barrel of beer. And he said to them, Amalem, Im atem mekablim et haTorah mutav. If you accept the Torah, then all good. Ve'im lav, but if you don't, Shom te'ei kvuraschem, there will be your burial spot under this mountain. It basically means that God had kind of forced the Jewish people to receive the Torah. So the Gemara actually continues, since it was kind of forced upon us. Omar Rav Ache Bar Yaakov says, Mikan moda'a rabba leoraisa. From here, a person can claim the claim of moda'a. What is moda'a? Okay? Yes. What is moda'a? Moda'a is usually a cancel of sale, a cancel of a purchase. If somebody is forced to sell something against his will, I don't want to sell it. So the one who is being forced is able, while selling it, to invite two witnesses and to declare in front of them that I was forced to sell it and I'm not interested in selling it. This declaration is called moda'a, and that actually cancels the sale. Cancels the sale. Says the Gemara that in regarding to the Torah is the same thing. The fact that we were forced to receive the Torah, that doesn't obligate us to keep it. Which means, as Rashi clearly says, when God comes and complains, why didn't you do such and such? How come you did something wrong? We can say, hello, did I take it? Did I have a choice in the matter? You forced me to it. So if you're forced, I'm not interested. And close to 1,000 years, that's how it was. Until when? Until the story of Purim. Says the Gemara, Omar Rove, Afal Pichein, nevertheless, even though they were first initially, Odur Kiblu Bimei Achashverosh. They went back, and during the times of Achashverosh, they dedicated themselves. And that point is when they decided to receive it with their own initiative. What is the source for it? So the Gemara brings, there's a verse in the book of Esther, in chapter 9, verse 27, in the book of Esther. What does it say? Kimu vekiblu ayehudim aleyhem ve'al zaram. It says when it came Purim, verse 27, it says, Kimu vekiblu ayehudim. The Jewish agreed and accepted upon them and upon their children. What is the simple meaning? They agreed. They agreed to celebrate Purim. Vekiblu, and they accepted for their children that we're going to celebrate Purim, because this came after the holiday was established. Says the Gemara, it doesn't just talk about Purim. Kimu vekiblu. They agreed, vekiblu, and they accepted means that they agreed to that which they had accepted previously. The Torah, which was given to them almost 1,000 years earlier, because between the story of Shavuot and the story of Purim was about 950 plus years, close to 1,000 years. Even Purim happened. So when the story of Purim happened, the miracle of Purim happened, they took upon themselves in their own dedication and their own will to receive the Torah from Hashem.
952 years. So after second temple destruction, first temple.
No, it was after the first temple destroyed, before the second.
How can it be 900?
Why not?
Let's
The
count
first
it.
temple, let's count it simply. I'm going to give you just two numbers, and that's it. Number one, how long did the first temple stand?
428.
410.
410.
How many years did the Shiloh temple stand?
350.
369. How many years is that already?
About
700.
About 800.
Okay. Then add Nov and Givon, 57 years. Then
800.
add what's it called? 40 years in the desert.
About 900.
950. Very clear, very simple. I actually thought it's more, because I realized it's only, in my head, it usually looked about 1,000. Then I realized it's 951.
Now it's clear.
If you put together 40 years in the desert, 14 years when they entered Israel, till they divided the land.
Yeah.
Then they had 57 years in by Shmuel. Then they had Shiloh 369 years, 410 years.
Plus 410, 810. And plus 900.
Yeah. So that's when they dedicated themselves. Matter of fact, there's another pasuk. It says in verse 23, "Vekibel Yehudi mesasher echelu la'asos," that it says that the Jewish people had adapted what Mordechai suggested to make it a yearly celebration, which is being explained by the commentaries, like the Ibn Ezra says, that the first year the Jewish people celebrated as a spontaneous celebration. Okay? They got the message, they can go out and take care of their enemies, and it ended up to a massive extravaganza, a celebration. Came the second year, Vekibel Yehudim, they took upon themselves, Mordechai said, let's establish it into a permanent holiday. So that's what the pasuk says, Vekibel Yehudim, and they adopted Mordechai's suggestion to make it a yearly celebration. That's what the simple meaning of the verse in verse 23, Vekibel Yehudim, that the Jewish people had accepted and adapted, but they began originally. But the Alter Rebbe in Torah or and Megillas Esther actually says that this pasuk is also telling us the same idea. The pasuk talks about what happened on Purim in regard to the receiving of the Torah. And what does the Megillah tell us? That the Jewish people took upon himself on Purim, they accepted, they adopted on Purim that what they initially had done from the giving of the Torah, but as a way of being kind of forced into it by God. This is the idea which the Gemara teaches us, a very important concept at Purim, which you can only see in the Gemara. When you read the verses, you don't see anything in the relationship between Purim and what we call Shavuot and the giving of the Torah. But the way the Gemara just takes that verse in chapter 9, verse 27, Kimu ve'kiblu hayudim, it's in Shabbos, page 88, the subject which talks about Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah. And the way the verse is in 23, both verses indicate and teach the same lesson, that what happened on Purim, the first Purim in Shushan, what happened? The Jewish people had rededicated themselves to accept the Torah, which was given to them almost 1,000 years earlier at Sinai. And that created a complete radical change in the relationship that we have with Torah. Because till that point, it was forced upon us. The mountain over our head. From that point, we are the ones who are asking for it. We are the ones who are desiring. We are the ones who express our love and excitement to receive it. That's what happened on Purim. The Alter Rebbe actually did in Torah or explains that the whole idea of forcing, even the original forcing that we speak about in the Gemara, that the Jewish people were kind of under the mountain and forced to it, says the Alter Rebbe that forcing doesn't mean in its literal sense people forced into it. Obviously, we all said Naaseh v'nishma, you're going to do, we're going to obey. There was no need for force. This is a discussion among the commentators, exactly which part of us had to be forced. Some say the dedication originally was for the written Torah. We were forced in for the oral Torah. There's different explanation. Tosfos says that God thought the ones they're going to see the fire and the thunder, they're going to regret ever saying Naaseh v'nishma. They're going to start running for their life. So they had to be kind of forced. But here, the Alter Rebbe explained what is force. Force, says the Alter Rebbe, there is two ways of forcing. You can force someone by holding a cane over his head, and you say, if you don't do it, I break your head. It's one way of forcing. That's not what we're talking about. Forcing is that God had revealed such a tremendous love to the Jewish people at Sinai, like it says in the verse, Ve'etchem, Wa'afti etchem amar Hashem. God says, I love you. This is the love which is written in Shir HaShirim, Ve'yeminot techapkeni. We were like kind of hugged by his right arm, so to speak. Techapkeni. The Alter Rebbe says, what's a hug? When you give someone a hug, you surround them, you circle them around with your hand from every direction. Even his back is hugged by you, and he can't go anywhere. He must turn his face to you. Same thing when it says, Shlomo HaMelech says, Ve'yeminot techapkeni, and his right arm hugged me. It means that God had expressed a love to the Jewish people from every direction that they had to put themselves face to face and say, yes, we want it. That's what happened at Sinai. Because it was the miracle of the splitting of the sea, the exodus from Egypt, the what's it called, the manna, the water. There were so many things already happened that they obviously couldn't say no. This is also called force, but this is a force of love. This is a big hug. The God to protect us. The Alter Rebbe says, why does it called the mountain? The Alter Rebbe says, you know why it says in the Talmud that the mountain was placed of it? Because love is compared to a mountain. The mountain sticks out of the earth, of the ground. Right? There's flat land. Suddenly the mountain, the earth picks itself up. Same thing, love is a build-up, is an expression, is an extension of the person. The person extends himself with a feeling of love. And he also says, why is it called like a barrel, kegigit? Because that's what the barrel is. The barrel is like a hug. It circles around you and it doesn't let you go. That's why it's called kafale ma kegigit. But the point what we bring out over here is that revelation of love which took place at Mount Sinai was not a result of our labor, of our hard work, of our quest. It was a revelation from above. In Kabbalistic terms, it's called itaruta de le'ela, an awakening from above. We are not working on it, we are not anticipating it. He exposes himself on us, upon us. That was at Sinai. 1,000 years later, times of Achashverosh, there was no revelation of God, of love. There was decrees. There was suffering. We were not even in home. We were in Bavel, in Persia. Matter of fact, when the Talmud tries to identify Esther, where in the Chumash do we have a verse which alludes to Esther? You know what verse the Talmud brings? V'anoichi Aster panai bayoimahu bayoimahu. I'm going to conceal my face. What's the word for concealment? Astir. Esther. Says the Talmud. You want to know where the story of Esther is in the Chumash? Talmud in Chulin, page 192, 132. This is where you're going to find Esther. 139. This is where you're going to find Esther. Why Esther? Why did Esther have to do with concealing my face? Because there was tzaras, there was trouble. There was a state of concealment. So why did we stand strong with our commitment to God after Haman's decree? Says the Alter Rebbe, that came from us. It's not because we saw. It's like today, you don't see nothing. To stay committed to God. Of showing any relationship to Hashem. You know, it's very difficult to find. Yes, some people see it, but still, in general, that's a time of concealment. So this is what the meaning of the verse is, what the Talmud says in Shabbos. Hodar kiblu b'mei Achashverosh. The acceptance of the Torah in the times of Achashverosh was within a personal initiative, initiated will and desire, standing in a state of bittul, of self-nullification, which was given to us and brought to us in our own choice. We were the one who chose that, not because of a revelation from above. That's happened on Purim. So the story of Sinai came full circle on Purim. Sinai was what? A revelation from above. Yes, I'm taking it. But he forced me. I mean, it was so nice to me. How could I say no? Came a year, 1,000 years later, Purim. There's nothing going on. So why are you doing it? Because I realized that that's where I belong. That's called a commitment from the law. In Afabrengen of Purim, which I was there, 1989 Purim, the Rebbe spoke that Purim, everything of Purim represents a novelty. The whole idea of a miracle is a novelty, right? The whole idea of transforming the month from a month that was meant to be a month of mourning to a month of joy, like it says in the Megillah, "V'achodesh asher nehepach lahem miyagon lesimcha u'me'evel leyom tov," that the entire month was transformed to them from mourning to, again, verse 22, V'achodesh asher nepach lohem, and the month which was transformed to them. From sorrow was changed to joy, and their mourning to happiness, making them into days of feasting and joy, and of exchanging gifts, shlach manot, and giving tzedakah to the poor, matot levyonim, change, transformation. That's what the whole story of Purim. It's all about. It's called chidush. But the Rebbe says that really you can find that even in the mitzvot that we do on Purim, we're expressing a concept of novelty, some type of chidush. How is it? Number one, we read the Megillah. The reading of the Megillah has to do with the erasing of Amalek. It says in the many Sfarim, many books, that the Chachamim and the sages instituted to read the Megillah, and also as an element of remembering to erase Amalek. In addition, that this Shabbat, before Purim, is called Shabbat Zachor, which is a biblical obligation to hear the reading of remembering to erase Amalek. We're going to read it. Everybody has to be in shul to see it and to hear it. You hear coming cars.
We're going to be here as fast as we can.
Start walking. Start walking today. You can get it on Shabbat. to hear the Megillah, but also to hear Amalek. That's what this Shabbat is b'maftir Zachor. In addition, the reading of the Megillah is also an element of remembering Amalek, because Ammon was a grandson of Agag. Agag was from the descendants of Amalek. When you hear and you read the entire story of the Megillah, you're also fulfilling the mitzvah of Zachor et Asher Asa Lecha Amalek, to remember what Amalek did. What comes after the Rebbe? In the one end, we have the biblical obligation to remember to erase Amalek that we're going to do on Shabbos. Then comes a chidush. Chachamim, the sages come and say, let's do something else. Let's make another rabbinic mitzvah, which is to read the Megillah, which will also erase Amalek. You have already a biblical obligation. What are you adding by this rabbinic mitzvah? Because that's the whole idea of Purim, to initiate something new. Something, sending gifts to our friends, portions of food, or gifts to the poor. Sending portions of food to a friend is a biblical mitzvah every day of the year. What is it called? Ahavat Yisrael, to love your fellow Jew. And there's different ways how you can express the mitzvah. Every morning before davening, you get up and you say, Areini, Mekabe, Lolai, Mitzvah Sasei, Shel ve'ahavta lerach kamocha. Take upon myself the positive mitzvah to love my fellow as myself. And you also fulfill the mitzvah of Avas Yisrael, of loving your fellow Jew. But here you come and you do special activities which express the mitzvah of Avas Yisrael. And this is the activities of what? Mishloach manot. Which means, as far as the mitzvah of Avas Yisrael is concerned, the mitzvah of loving your fellow Jew is concerned, there is no limit to the quantity of what you have to give him. There's not even a mitzvah to give him portions of food. If you give one single portion, not portions, to a friend, you also fulfill the mitzvah of V'aval Kamocha. If I give you an apple, that's good. I don't have to give two. I don't have to give apples and something else. Comes Purim, what's the mitzvah? Teimanot, 2 portions. What does that mean? As far as the biblical mitzvah of V'ahavta le'recha kamocha, nothing changed. It's the same mitzvah. 1 apple, 2 apples, whatever it is, it's the same mitzvah. But the sages came and said, no, let's bring a new element to the mitzvah. And this is that we're going to give not only 1 portion, we're going to give what? 2 portions. 2 portions. That's called an additional of a rabbinic commandment, to make it a rabbinic commandment, in addition to the on Purim, to the additional ongoing mitzvah of Avas Yisrael, which is every single day of the year. Same thing, gifts to the poor. All year we have a mitzvah. What is it called? Tzedakah. Tzedakah. So when it comes on Purim and you give tzedakah, you don't just give tzedakah. What do? You're doing a rabbinic mitzvah called matanot le'evyonim, gifts to the poor. What is the addition? What's the idea? What gets added, and why is it that we are looking to add on Purim to the so-called ongoing mitzvot? What special concept? What am I trying to achieve on Purim? Not only are we doing the mitzvah the way it is meant to be in the Torah throughout the year, we're going to put an extra effort to it. Why is it? What am I trying to accomplish? What am I accomplishing? In other words, what is the rabbinic mitzvah adding, besides technically needing to give 2 portions and looking for the poor person? What does it add into the mitzvah? What quality does it add to the general mitzvah, which we are anyway obligated throughout the year to do? What happens on Purim different? Manishtana. The Rebbe says something very interesting, but first he starts with a question. Very good question. The question is based on everything that we said earlier, from the Talmud in Shabbat, based on the verses in the Megillah, that what is Purim? Purim essentially celebrates what? The completion of Shavuot. In other words, you have to view it. Once you understand and study the Gemara in Shabbat, you end up to be that there are 2 stages to Matan Torah. The stage 1, what happened at Sinai, the forcing upon us the Torah, and 950 plus years later, stage 2, which is that we took upon ourselves the Torah. Are the 2 separate stages. But the Rebbe asked a very obvious question. Are we celebrating every year the anniversary of receiving the Torah on Shavuot? Yeah. We have a special Yom Tov. It's called what? Shavuot. And as we say in our prayers, Zman Matan Toratenu, the season of the giving of the Torah. And we have special foods. We eat dairy because somehow they didn't have meat. They had dairy. We are up all night. We are doing certain traditions which reflect the idea that this is the day that God gave us the Torah. We have a special Yom Tov. The Rebbe asks, what about Purim? It doesn't seem that we do anything on Purim to mark, to celebrate, to emphasize that we today had dedicated ourselves to the Torah. We brought the Torah to its completion. Everything we do on Purim has to do with the miracle of survival. We send portions of food, so we show that we are happy. We have a feast, so we show that we are happy. We read the story, so we remember the miracle. And when you ask anybody what happened today, what's this holiday? Everybody is dressed up and reading Megillah and sending food. What happened? What do we tell them? Because there was a bad man with the name of Haman who wanted to destroy us. And miraculously, the decree was cancelled and we were destroying them. And we survived. Let's eat. Let's drink for it. God watched over us. That's great. Do it. Enjoy it. And it is a big part of Purim. But how can you ignore such an important element in Purim, which we just learned from the Gemara, based on verses in the Megillah, that there was a radical change in the attitude that the Jew had to Torah 950 plus years from Shavuot till Purim, and from Purim and onwards. Why is that not celebrated? Rebbe's question. And every other thing we do a zecher, a commemoration. Right? By the Jewish people, we eat matzah in commemoration of the Korban Pesach. We sit in the sukkah in commemoration of the clouds. We light Hanukkah candles. We eat a sandwich because in the temple they used to eat a sandwich. The Jewish people are very into celebrate symbolic commemorations. And to sit all Purim and not to commemorate the idea of Kabbalah Satira, why? It doesn't make any sense. I think that just as David Schneider sponsors the Shavuos Kiddush, because it's the day that the Torah was given, today, stage 2 of Shavuot, you have to sponsor the Purim Kiddush.
I was gonna volunteer for the Yom Kippur break Kiddush.
You know what? It might cost you a buck or two. A lot of kids are having a big Kiddush. Yeah. Be careful what you say. What's pshat? So the Rebbe says as follows, that if you notice, if you will analyze the mitzvahs of Purim, you will realize that these 3 mitzvot, Mishloach Manot, Matanot Le'Evyonim, the reading of the Megillah, they actually all emphasize the idea of personal dedication to the Torah. Because let's analyze what those mitzvahs are. But before we analyze those mitzvahs are, let's first analyze what the real different, what is the personal, so-called essential difference between something that you do because you're forced to do, which was Shavuot, or something that you do because you want it, which is Purim. And everybody understands the difference. When you are forced to do something, how much do you do of it? The minimal I need to do to fulfill my obligation, right? I'm not going to look for any extra. I'm not going to look for any extra effort, for any extra beauty into the mitzvah. I will do. You tell me that I need to do it, you're forcing me to do it. Here, sometimes the kids, you have to do it. They come, they show you a little sample. We did it. You didn't tell me I have to do this also. Because you're forcing me. They feel like they were told to do it. So I'm going to do just that you, as they say in English, I got you off my back. I got you off my back. Here, Rabbi, you wanted money. Here, take $18. Don't say I didn't give you. I gave you. And that's it. Now go deal with that. When you want to do something, when you do something because you have a willingness, because you have a cheshek, because you have a desire to do it, you don't just do the minimal. You don't just do the minimal required and move on. You are doing what you can do with the greatest enthusiasm. You're looking for addition. Give me more. Give me more. I'm not satisfied. What else can I do? Maybe I can make it nicer. Maybe I can make it bigger. I don't want to just, do and feel that it was done and move on. I'm excited to work for you. I'm excited to serve you. So let me enhance it. Let me spend a few extra dollars on it. Let me look for the nicer one, for the bigger ones. Let me spend some time. So I'm not going to just buy every lulav I'm being offered. Let me look around. Maybe I can find a nicer one, spend a few extra minutes, check out the esrogim. I'm not trusting everybody because they've sold it to me. I want to find something nice because I'm excited to do it. So clearly, by looking at the different attitude one has towards something that you are forced or something that you are desiring, is the difference between doing the minimal or even looking for the max. The addition to our existing or pre-existing phenomenon is always an expression that you have interest in it. And that's why you're looking for the addition. Now let's go analyze the mitzvahs again and see where do we find the addition on Purim and that which is a pre-existing phenomenon throughout the year. Number one, the very fact that they wrote the Megillah, a miracle which was not meant to be written. You can recall the miracle by heart and transmit it by tradition from one generation to another. They will recall the miracle. The miracle of Hanukkah is written. Is it recorded on parchment? Do we read the story of Antiochus and the Chashmonaim? No, there's no reading. People don't even know there's such a scroll. You know there's a scroll called Antiochus scroll? People don't even know about it. For sure we don't read it. For sure not with a blessing. For sure not in shul. Comes Purim. No, we're going to make a book. And we're going to make a scroll. And Esther was begging the sages to make it a part of scripture. And they were having a hard time because how can you add to scripture? Until they found a verse which alludes to the fact that God wants us to record that which is meant to be remembered. And that's how they ended up writing the Scroll of Esther. And the Scroll of Esther became one of the 24 books of scripture, part of the Tanakh, part of the Holy Bible. What is that called? Addition. That's called adding. When are you adding? Because you're excited. So you want to add, you want to enhance. What does that tell you? That what are we celebrating Purim by the fact that we're adding? We're celebrating, we're commemorating the idea that we had dedicated ourselves to the Torah. But when we dedicate ourselves, then is when you add. Mitzvah number 2, reading the Megillah. Every holiday we read from the Torah. But when do we read? Which part of the holiday? Every holiday is a night and a day. Which part of the holiday is the reading?
Oh, during the day,
What happens on Purim?
both the day and the night,
Oh,
or the night, the day.
the night and the day. What does it tell you? You're adding. What is adding telling you? Why are we adding?
Enhancing.
Why are we adding? Because tonight, and what does it mean? And tonight we are actually doing a zecher to that what happened at Purim. We are commemorating the story of Purim, which showed our love to Torah. And how do we commemorating it? By adding to an existing mitzvah and doing more to it. We are publicizing the miracle when we read it. We don't just read in private. Even according to the Gemara, that the Megillah substitutes Hallel. We don't say Hallel on Purim because the Megillah substitutes Hallel. You can obviously imagine that it's much more expanded Hallel than the Hallel that we say on a regular Yom Tov
For Hanukkah.
or Hanukkah. It's a much bigger Hallel. It's a whole story. Consider the next mitzvah. Mishloach manot, like we said before. It is a pre-existing mitzvah called love your fellow Jew, which is an obligation every day of the year. Comes on Purim, we have a mitzvah called to send 2 portions of food. There's a famous book that I have over here in the library. It's called Manot HaLevi, the portions of the Levi, that was written by a great composer that we all sing his poetry every week, Reb Shlomo Elkabetz, who wrote the famous poet called Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. And he wrote this big book over here, you see? A book, a book just in the Megillah. Look, the Megillah is such a thin book. This is a Megillah with English translation.
Half that size.
And this is a book, commentary on the Megillah. Manot HaLevi. And look at the letters. This is not today's letters. You see? You see what's going on over here? You see that? This is just in print. This small letter that we have over here is 225 pages. No, I'm sorry, it's not 225. It's 225 double pages. So it's 500, 225 is 450. 450 small print, okay? This is a book called Manot HaLevi and Megillat Esther. This used to belong to my grandfather, Mr. Weiss. Shlomo Alevi Elkabetz, the famous, you know why he wrote the book? He lived in Tzafat, and he wanted to send Mishloach Manot to his father-in-law. He wrote him a whole book. You know, one, and it's like, you know what? Start reading. When you finish, we'll talk again. It was printed in Venice at the year 345, 5,345. Now we are 5,780. How many years ago was it printed first?
84,
500.
5,780.
5,784 minus 345. 5,784 minus 5,700
Minus 3,000.
minus 5,345.
500.
Not 500. 300 maybe. 400.
5784.
Yeah, about 480 years. Yes. About 470, almost 480 years. So in this book, you write, Reb Shlomo Elkabetz writes that the reason for the Shlach Manot is to show simply that we are friends. We like each other. That's the reason. Not to make sure that you have a meal, but to show that we are friends. To show that you are a friend, a whole year you are meant to be someone else's friend. Every morning you say, I take upon myself the mitzvah to love my fellow like I love myself. What happens on Purim?
Extra reminder.
That's a reminder. You're going to look for that friend. And you're not only going to look for them, you're going to act on your friendship and you're going to give them a portion of food. And according to Jewish law, the portion of food has to be something which is edible at that time. Don't give him I wouldn't mind to get a,
Gift
what's it called?
certificate.
A raw steak, and then I will take care of it as I wish.
Or a meal
But-
ticket.
But it says that I should give it to him in a way that should be able to benefit from it today, to eat from it. So that is called what? Adding to an existing mitzvah. What is adding represent again? What does adding represent? That you want to do it. And that's how we actually commemorate the receiving of the Torah on Purim, by doing this thing. Same thing, gifts to the poor. Gifts to the poor is tzedakah. Do you have to look for a poor person to give tzedakah throughout the year? No. There are people who are very excited to live in a small, quiet neighborhood in Redmond. No one knocks on their door. And they were never going to be asked for tzedakah, and they're very happy. Purim, you can live in Redmond, it's not going to help you much. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone and go find the poor person to give it to him. So you're going to have to search and not only give him one gift, the gift has to be not only to one per person, no, it's one gift, but not only to one per person, has to give one single gift to two poor people. That's called Evyonim. Why are we doing all this? That's called the rabbinical addition into the biblical commandments. What's the idea of the rabbinical addition if it's biblically ready? The rabbis came and added an element. The novelty of the rabbis is that they made it extra. Extra. More than what we do a whole year. And that extra, why was that made on Purim? Because Purim is a day that celebrates what? The completion of taking the Torah. And the completion of taking the Torah is what? Our love to the Torah. And when a person loves the Torah and he desires to follow the Torah, then you add, then you enhance. You don't keep to the minimum. So there's no question why don't we commemorate. We do more than that. We actually only commemorate. That's the Rebbe's word.
How does this go when it says do not add?
Do not add, says the Rambam, means that you're not allowed to take a rabbinic mitzvah and refer to it as a biblical commandment. So if I am going, for example, to light Hanukkah candles, and I'm going to say that the Torah told me to light Hanukkah candles, that's wrong. Instead, you're lighting Hanukkah candles by saying the rabbis told me to light it, and the Torah told me to listen to the rabbis. The Talmud has a famous question when it talks about lighting Hanukkah candles. So the Talmud brings the text of the blessings. And how does the first blessing go? Baruch atah Hashem. I wish me I still on Hanukkah. Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav. You had sanctified us with the commandment. Vetzivanu lehadlik nercha. What does vetzivanu mean? Vetzivanu. What does vetzivanu mean?
Command.
You commanded us. So the Talmud asked in Tractate Shabbat, in the page of Hanukkah, in the 20s, Eichan vetzivanu, who were we commanded? It's not like a student in college asking the question. The Talmud asked this question, where were we commanded? What does the Talmud say? It says in the Torah, not to astray right or left from what the sages tell you. So that's what we were commanded, to light Hanukkah candles. So we weren't commanded to light Hanukkah candles literally. We were commanded to listen, to obey the rabbi's commandment to light Hanukkah candles. But they never said it's biblical. All the protection, additional restrictions made by the sages, it's only valid as long as they call it a rabbinic prohibition. The moment they validated or they qualified it as a biblical one, then this is the violation of the verse you said before, lo tosef alav, not to add to the Torah.
Didn't we have from period to period false sages that had us add stuff? And then
So they were
all of a
false.
sudden,
If they came and they added false stuff, so they were false.
we thought it wasn't false at
We
that
could
time.
have think, but if they ended up to be false, that's what the Torah gives us, very, very severe consequences for a false prophet. Very severe consequences. A part of a false prophecy that he comes and tells you that God said to me to do such and such, and God never spoke to him. Doesn't even know who he is. He knows who he is, but he never spoke to him. Maybe because he knows who he is, he never spoke. This year, Purim is on Saturday night.
Very nice.
Usually before Purim, we have the day of the 13th of Adar. Is a fast day called the fast of Esther, because Esther was requesting to fast in order to have the decree cancelled. But this year, the 13th of Adar is on Shabbat. And on Shabbat, we're not allowed to fast. Not forced to fast on Shabbat. So the sages had organized that the fast of Esther should be initiated earlier than Purim. Friday is also not a good day to fast, because then you're coming into Shabbos in an afflicted spirit, which is not the right spirit to welcome Shabbos. It's only one fast that we fast on Friday, which is the 10th of Tevet, which has a special stringency for different reasons. that even on the calendar, if it falls out on Friday, we would fast on Friday. But the 13th of Adar, we never fast. I'm sorry, we never fast if it falls on Shabbos. We would not fast on Friday either. So it was postponed to tomorrow, Thursday. Those who are healthy, who can fast, have the obligation to fast. The fast starts at dawn and it ends at nightfall. If you're not healthy, you take medicine, speak to your rabbi. There might be allowances for you not to fast, especially when the fast is not on its appropriate day. There is even more leniency in such a case.
What we discussed a little bit in Tanya last night, that by fasting on Thursday, you're at a fairly low point because fasting, you're not joyous for anything. So this, because of this emperor, you go right from the lowest joy into Shabbos, which is full of joy and everything else. So there's kind of an extra emphasis, the Alter Rebbe says, when you can do something like
Right? Okay. Very nice. Very nice. So the whole idea is that it's called the fast of Esther. The Rebbe once spoke that Esther was the only one fasting among the,
that. And she,
because the men had to go to war. They had to fight. And according to Jewish law, a warrior is not allowed to fast. So that's why it's called Esther, because she ended up the only, everybody else is fighting. She's fasting. She's in the big palace. She fasted. But either way, I want to mention over here what's important to know about Purim and this Shabbat. So I mentioned tomorrow the fast. This Shabbat, like we said earlier, is also called Shabbat Zachor, which is a biblical mitzvah to come and hear the reading of erasing Amalek once a year. We have to remember to erase them. I'm going to read from the Torah, from Parshas Kiseitze, from Maftir. Then comes on Purim, we have 5 commandments. 3 are special for Purim, 2 are done on other holidays too. Commandment number 1 is to hear the Megillah, and to hear the Megillah twice. The night of Purim, which is Saturday night, and Purim day, which is Sunday. We are going to have over here at ETC at 8:45 p.m. a Megillah reading, a half hour after Shabbat ends. People who want to come from far can come. Does it take you a half hour to drive?
40 minutes.
We'll wait for you.
Okay.
We'll wait
He will
for
be
you.
coming, so
Okay, so we'll wait.
He's gonna daven Maariv in the car.
Not a problem. Blina will wait. So then we have at night Megillah, but no party afterwards because it's late at night. And then we have a Megillah reading in the morning, 8:30 in the morning on Sunday, in Davin, and we have a Megillah. And then we're going to organize the synagogue, 11 o'clock. There is a community celebration for families. Come, kids will be here. Actually, the kids of the Hebrew school are going to perform. They're going to make a play, a Purim play. And then there's going to be a lunch. So there's a mitzvah to eat. And we're going to also give people the opportunity to fulfill the mitzvah for Shlach Manot. You can make a bag and hand it over to your next friend and change it around. In the morning, we will do it for those who are in the morning. We can do it all day, that's in the morning. Usually in the morning here, after davening, people in the community also take the opportunity to exchange food baskets, food, gifts. You can do it later. You can go to people's houses. It's all the same. There's no mitzvah to do it in the morning. And then, so that's mitzvah number 2 is Megillah. 1 is Megillah. Mitzvah number 2 is Mishloach Manot. Mitzvah number 3 is gifts to the poor. Mitzvah number 4 is a meal, a feast. Seudah. And also when you say Birkat Hamazon after the meal, you have to, if you ate at least some portion of challah before sunset, you're going to say the Alanissim, a special addition, which we also say it in the Amida, to thank God for the miracle of Purim. That's the mitzvah of Purim. Looking forward for a beautiful holiday, a time not just to eat a meal, even the meal is a bit extra. We said before, everything is an extra on Purim. The meal of Purim is to drink extra cup of wine to the point that you get intoxicated and tired and sleepy and happy because you go out of your limitations. That's the idea of Purim.
What is the right amount of wine?
The right amount is that when you're not going to know what the different Kirstas Amon in Blessed Mordechai. If it takes you 2 bottles, you take 2, take you 3 bottles. As long as it takes.
I heard somewhere in the lesson,
In my
15 reveals of wine.
How did they
That's
come
what
up
I
with that?
heard.
How did they come up with that?
I don't know.
Every person according to his ability. For some people, they drink 1 cup of wine and they're drunk. For other people, they need a bottle. For other people, they need a barrel,
Yeah.
a bath. Who knows? Everybody. Have a happy Purim, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Get ready for the holiday. And we'll see you Bezrat Hashem next week. Hope and Megillah. All the best.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're very, very welcome. All the best to you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you very much.
On tomorrow, can you do a haircut?
Sure. You can do it tomorrow, you can do it on Friday, you can do anything you want. Okay. Let's see, why is it not closing on me? Oh, yeah.